Move past the ugliness with Lou.
And we know he's okay. He's texting, talking to everybody.
Well, except for Daddy.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Told you guys obviously about Bel Air, but I didn't want to do it alone in this instance. I did my separate review. You guys watched that, but I wanted to chop it up again with my boy Sean. I'm sure in the future weeks as well, you guys will want to chop up. I mean, if you watch the show, guys, and you want to commentate upon it, let me know in the chat. We can bring you up onto the panel and let you have your say as well about this episode. I can't wait to dive into the rest of the second and third episodes and fourth, fifth, whatever, how many episodes they have this season, because it's been a really good show. So if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor, like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of uploads. We appreciate you. All right, cool. I don't waste much time. I want to get straight into the shindig, and talk Bel Air today. All right, so Sean, talk to me, brother. What was your first impressions of this particular episode? Because it was an interesting one, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I think they kicked it off, very nicely with the season 2. I was wanting more. I was like, oh man, I need a second episode, to dive into. But I think this first episode, I'm glad they, went through some key things around the dynamic with Uncle Phil and Will. I thought that was great. I love that. They got into the context of is his name Jazzy? Did they call him Jazzy on the show? Jazzy and Hillary. I forget. Whatever. Hillary and
I call her Coco for some reason.
Well, that's her real name.
Yeah, no, that was the problem. I kept on thinking of Coco.
Yeah, it is Jazz. Okay, so because it's Jazzy that also is Will's friend, and in the original Bel Air that had a crush on Hillary, but I don't think they ever had a relationship. So I got I don't know if I forgot if they renamed the character. But anyway, I like how their relationship kind of crystallized too. I love that. I also like that Ashley, is kind of she is the peacemaker in the family, and she's the bridge builder. She kind of brings people together. So yeah, I thought there was some really, really good things happening. It was nice to see everybody caught up and seeing, what folks are doing. Seems like Will can't get out of trouble to save his life. It's always into something, and I like the dynamic between his. Well, no, I'm not going to say I like that. I did not like that. What's the girl's name that he was dating?
Who? Lisa and Will.
Lisa.
Yeah,
that kind of got on my nerves because it agitated me that he had to do so much apologizing when.
Oh yes.
It's like, come on. But I know they always do that when it comes to these shows where they make them like adults, but they're like teenagers. And it's not to say teenagers can't be accountable, of course, but I just didn't see what he needed to apologize to her for. Like, she was so angry that he didn't get revealed to her all the different multi-layers of his past and the complexities with his parents and all this other stuff. Like, did she have a right to that? Like, I just think I think her expectation was a little too high. Had it been, had he cheated on her or done, hurt her in a way where he, told a secret of hers to somebody else, I get that. But you expecting him to kind of just be so forthright with things that he hasn't even fully understood yet, I thought that was they set the bar too high for her to now just be all, you should be apologetic to me, and I'm angry with you, whilst he's going through a tough time. His dad's a jerk. His mom shielded it from him and the entire family, and you just expect him to just be so free willing with information. So I thought that was a little bogus.
I'm hearing you on that. I ain't even mad at it, bro. I hear you on that. I ain't even mad at it. All right, let's get into some of the stuff that was happening. and get your sentiments and thoughts on this as well. All right.
At the back of the collar and drag him through the front door.
No, but you could apologize.
Apologize for what? I was right about Lou. Huh? Nothing good came from Will meeting up with him.
At least he got to see the kind of man his father is.
I want to get your thoughts. Was Uncle Phil wrong for hiding Lou from Will? Was he wrong? Should he be apologizing? Should he be backtracking, or do you think he should stand his ground in this situation?
I think his intentions were not wrong, but at a certain point, he owed it to Will to be honest, right? So if the family collectively came to a conclusion about Will's father, at a certain point, especially when he began to ask, they should have been forthright. Now, I'm not a proponent of people lying to their children, no matter what. I just think that sets a bad precedent, and it also teaches the child that lying is a way to resolve issues, right? And usually you see things just like this play out, where the person is so hurt that they just go in the opposite direction of what you want them to do, right? So shielding them, I think, shielding them with a lie doesn't help, right? I think you do a little bit better to be honest, and in a lot of ways let the child come to their own conclusions, because Will very quickly learned just how much of a good for nothing person that his dad was, right? So yeah, I don't agree. And I'm glad Uncle Phil apologized. But I just think that it should have happened a lot sooner.
Yep. And you, just to back up your claims.
I don't really know Lou. So the fact that he turned out to be a bum doesn't surprise me. But that my mom, Aunt Viv, and you lied to me my whole life, that's what hurt.
So you're right. That's what hurt him the most. What hurt him the most was the fact that there was the lying involved with him and not allowing him to make that choice for himself. And there was obviously the extra stuff that he was doing behind the scenes with Jeffrey to make sure that didn't happen. What's your thoughts on the Jeffrey situation though? And I mean, because obviously Jeffrey came to apologize in this episode, and also simultaneously he gave good advice to Will, didn't trash Uncle Phil. Some would say that, ladies should take a little bit of note, don't be doing this to your baby fathers out here playing. But no, what was your thoughts to Jeffrey and Uncle Phil's situation? Because he came back to apologize, and it seemed like Uncle Phil was still in his bag of feelings.
I think there's also more layers, and I think in the previews we saw that there's a little more complexity with Jeffrey and Uncle Phil. So I don't know that if there's something that Uncle Phil and Jeffrey, there's something that Uncle Phil knows, and that's what's fueling this. But I think that Uncle Phil is definitely very stubborn, and he can be blindsided. He can be, not blindsided. He can be myopic sometimes, whereas he's so focused on what's right in front of him that he misses what's a little bit before, in front of him, because he's so focused on, oh, I'm right, and Jeffrey's supposed to be loyal to me, and da 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 da. And you forget that as much as Jeffrey is your employee, right, or was at that time, and also like your right-hand person, he's also a human being. And if you really value him, you should be able to hear things that, you should respect his opinion. And Jeffrey, in so many ways, had tried to tell him to make different choices before, like to be upfront with Will, and let him know. And Jeffrey also, had a strained relationship with his child, right? So he was like, I don't want you to do that. Even though I know all the dirt of Will's dad, I still don't think this is the right way to do it. And then when Will sought out Jeffrey to do it, he obliged, and that caused an issue. But I think Uncle Phil needs to realize this isn't the mafia, You can't just cut people off because they went against you. This is somebody that cares about you, cares about your family, is respected. Of all the times that he's telling you made a wrong turn, you should be willing to hear it from him.
Why do you? Because I'm gonna put it in the chat as well. I deep as well. I actually love this series because I think it gives much more deeper impressions of what Will Smith's situation would have been like, right, in terms of the Fresh Prince. But obviously, someone even put in the chat, this Uncle Phil is kind of hard to like. You know what I mean? Like, there's a little bit of you understand why I get it. He's a loving father. He wants to protect his family and stuff. But I think part of me is feeling a little bit some way because it's the issue with Will, the issue with his wife as well, because he didn't want his wife to do something. So they're almost making him this quote unquote villain, but he's not a villain. Do you know what I mean? But it's almost a different type of portrayal. What's your kind of thoughts on Uncle Phil overall, like, and how they're portraying him over, I guess, the 2 seasons so far?
No, I mean, I don't dislike him. I see him as, someone that's attained a high level of success, right?
He's a billionaire.
And he is trying to do what his family, he is trying to help his family, or he wants his family to get the benefit of where he is now. So again, I think that's him trying to be 10 steps ahead and like prevent some of the trappings, right? And sometimes he gets in the mud so that his family can still be protected, right? So I understand that need for him to want to protect, to want to prevent them from having the pain that he went through, or coming in and fixing things all the time. He's well intentioned, I think, but he needs to get out of his own way sometimes. But I think to me, I see him as like somebody that's, he's definitely relatable in that he has flaws, right? He definitely can, he has blind spots. That's the word I was trying to see, right? His blind spots is being able to admit he was wrong. His blind spots is also relying on those people that he trusts, right? He trusts them to do and execute on the things he tells them to do. But if you hold somebody that close, you also have to trust them to give you advice as well.
Yeah, I definitely feel that as well about Uncle Phil. I think one of the things about Uncle Phil is, he's a typical dad. I like to call it a typical dad in the sense of the fact that, at points in time, someone said this Uncle Phil is not a soft place to land. He's not, because I think what they've done is they've combined real life, what a person would be like if they were successful in their business, in their career, as a man of the community, as a politician. And these are actually things that it makes you realize that Uncle Phil of the TV show is not real. The one that's Fresh Prince is not real, if I'm honest with you, because this is in reality, there are so many flaws. Because I think the Uncle Phil that we saw on Fresh Prince is pretty much perfect. I can't remember much times he got things wrong. I think it was 1 or 2 times he got things wrong, but it was a very quick rarity. It was normally Will doing something, he get in trouble, Uncle Phil will have to give him another lesson. And so I think it's easy to buy into the Fresh Prince Uncle Will because he's doing everything right and perfectly right, and it's a smaller scope on him. But when you're looking at this show, like you said, it gives a more realistic aspect in terms of what a father is. And we said this before, you are not always going to be liked. Everything you do is not always going to be received well. You're going to make mistakes and people are going to hold you higher to account. But when they get older, they're going to freaking realize how great their dad was. Right? So what you will see is that, that Will, Hillary, Carlton, they'll be appreciative of they'll be appreciative of what kind of input he's had in them. This guy is a black billionaire. Let's just think about the pressures of that first and foremost. You know what I mean? Black billionaire. He's running his own law firm. Then obviously as well, he went into politics. There's a whole lot of stuff that happening that makes things difficult. And I think we didn't get a full deep dive in Fresh Prince. So it's easy to love Uncle Phil. if they had a deeper dive like they're having in the show, we might also have a more broader way of looking at Uncle Phil in this aspect. But I think it does highlight the necessities, or should I say, the depth, sorry, of being a father, being a black father. Because what you said there is really key. He had a right-hand man in Jeffrey, and that's his blind spot. His blind spot is his pride. So every person has their blind spot. You know what I mean? Uncle Phil's blind spot has been exposed. It is literally his pride. And so when Jeffrey did what he did, he went against the order, and that caused Jeffrey not to be trusted by Uncle Phil. But if Uncle Phil saw it in a different way, which maybe he'll come round to maybe later on or not, we don't know, he would have seen that Jeffrey was actually trying to save him, just like he's trying to save his kids. But sometimes your pride can get in the way. And that, for me, makes him, you know, that makes it different. You know what I mean? You know, that makes it even more like, wow, I need to give this person a bit more grace as well, you know, just to be able to understand where he's coming from, you know? Sorry, I should have said if you wanted to add anything, my bad.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, listen, he apologized to Will, so I think that was huge. And I thought it was really realistic that he avoided the apology, right? Because he just didn't want to have the conversation. But listen, you can see that he loves his family, because he tolerated Carlton coming over there telling him, you know, you need to apologize. You know, he you know, everybody was in one way or another pushing him to the, you know, to do it, right? Including, you know, his wife, including Ashley. Everybody was. And sometimes people that are overly stubborn, the more you tell them to do something, the more they don't want to do it, right? But he did acquiesce. He had the conversation with Will. And even at first, Will was giving him pushback. He was like, I don't really want to talk, right? And, you know, he was like, well, how about just listen to me, right? And then he got straight to it. So I just really love that moment, that it didn't get dragged out, right? And something traumatic didn't have to happen. And he gave the apology, right? He explained his why, which I think is always important, right? He explained the why. He allowed Will to share why he was hurt by what happened. And then that opened up the door for Will to come back home. And I think that's why it's so important. Like, you see the power of an apology, right? And how you can change a whole chain of events by just saying sorry. We see it in the dynamic with Jamie Jr. and Jamie Sr. in Love and Marriage DC, right? When the father breaks down and is vulnerable, you know, Jamie is, you know, Jr. is a lot older, so it's going to take a lot more moments like that. But those moments are powerful, and you can't take away the impact of being vulnerable to your children, to, you know, especially as a dad, right? To showing them love, to owning things, especially when they get to a certain age where they have their own thoughts, they have their own mind. You can't still hold on to them as children anymore. And I think a lot of parents struggle with that, even into adulthood with their kids, right? You know, of being honest, being able to apologize. You know, I think that's so important as your relationship with your children develop.
I'm with you on that, bro. You ain't told no lies. All right, cool. Let's talk a little bit then about Aunt Viv as well, a little bit, just quickly, in her role, because I think I'm loving Aunt Viv. I mean, first of all, she's fine. Okay, she's fine. Okay, you did that little kiss at the end. I don't know if I've got a clip of that, but a little kiss at the end where she made a little noise. I said, this Aunt Viv is dangerous. Okay, she out here, she gonna lock Uncle Phil down. Okay. So yeah, I think I actually got a clip of it. Yes,
the same thing.
You know,
this woman said, "Ooh." But yeah, Aunt Viv on this episode was, and I think Aunt Viv again just really put. I mean, I loved it because I think, you know, Uncle Phil is quite strong, dominant force. You know, he'll run through you if you let him. You know what I mean? Because he knows what he wants, what he needs to get. And Viv, again, once more, has got that softer nature, complementary energy where she even disagrees with him at points. But I mean, we often see how she tries to disagree with him in the sense of trying to talk to him, not trying to bash him over the head, not trying to yank him over the line, not trying to drag him over the line, but rather trying to speak to him. And she does a great job. In fact, part of the apology reason why is because even on the boat, when she's talking to Will, she sees Uncle Phil, she sees Phil across the boat, and she goes, "Go and talk to him," basically. You know what I mean? So she has her ways of being able to kind of soften Uncle Phil up, and I think this is what we talk about as men sometimes when we want women to kind of like to play this role. Don't come and destroy me, don't drag me, but you know what? Use your feminine charm. You know, talk to me. You know what I mean? Advise me, but don't drag me. You know what I'm saying? Don't force me over that line. I'm gonna get there because Uncle Phil did get there. You know what I mean? But now he knows he can trust her, that she's not going to bash him over the head and try and hurt him in that moment or cuss him out in that moment. And even with the Jeffrey situation, she was present, right? And she disagreed. But once he had that face, she said, "All right, cool." Walked Jeffrey out to the door. I'm sure they would have had a conversation a little bit later on, and we say la vie, the rest is the rest. But what was your thought, Aunt Viv?
Yeah, no, I like her approach, and I think to me that is when we say, you know, we want a respect from women. That's it, right? We can disagree all day, you know, and you can share your thoughts and, you know, tell me what you think, you know, I should or shouldn't do, right? But I think that united front, and I think for men, I know for me, like that was so important. Like I need to know that together in front of anybody, we're going to be together. And you might disagree with me, but you're not going to try to tear me down, right? You know, because you really see us as a team. And I think that is so important, right? And she definitely does that in so many instances, right? That she thinks that there's things that he should do better, whether it's with Will or with Jeffrey. She always makes it a point, you know, to tell him in the ear, you know, and even in front of Jeffrey, she didn't say you're wrong, right? And we see when women do this, it just gets explosive, right? Because now I feel like you're stepping in and now you're defending another man in front of me, and I've made a choice, right? I think that, you know, she told that line, you know, so well. And she's not perfect, right? You know, we saw last season how she kind of let that gallery owner dude get a little too close.
Way too close.
Way too close, right? And something's going on now again with, you know, the fellowship that she has. So we're going to see, you know, I think Uncle Phil might have been right to, you know,
to lock that down. Use
his intuition. But sometimes, again, you have to let people get there on their own, especially she's your wife. She's grown. You can't necessarily move all the chess pieces for her. You can share your wisdom. You can tell her what you think, but you also can't control her either. So it's a fine line.
That's very true. You ain't tell no lies. You ain't tell no lies. Okay, let's get another scene going. Let's get this going as well.
I saw you trying to talk to Doc.
You saw that?
You want a little advice? If you're trying to make a good impression, don't just talk a good game. Play one.
So we got the first introduction to, I think is her name Jackie? Jackie, I think it is. Jackie, who you also see in Fresh Prince as well. You know, Jackie is, you know, an amazing character dynamic because she's from the ends. She's from the hood. She's from the streets. You know what I mean? Her dog was telling you all you need to know. The dog said, listen, bearing canine teeth, everything, you know, let you know what kind of chick you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? But she seems like somebody who knows what she's about and where she's heading to. And that scene was infused with obviously Will trying to meet Doc, who is obviously an ominous character who seems to want to be a little bit shady, and who knows what he's planning for Will and his family. But we got to meet Jackie, and she looked, looking sweet. She looks like the part. So, what's your thoughts on the first introduction of Jackie into the show, and what was your kind of first impressions?
There was a Jackie on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
I think there was.
Because I was wondering where that name came from, because I'm like, nobody that young's name is Jackie. So, which
Jackie
character was that? Was it Jada Smith or
no,
Jada?
Tasha? Not Tasha. Sorry. What is her
Nia
name?
Long?
No, the other model.
Queen Latifah?
No, the other model.
Tyra Banks?
That's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Let me get her up. Jackie, yeah, Jackie. She was Jackie. But I don't think she was Hood, though.
She wasn't. Tyra was
Hood.
a little bit of a tomboy on the show.
Yeah, that wasn't necessary. I think it slightly changed her up in it. So, yeah, Tyra Banks played her, but it wasn't necessarily the same character. They've definitely changed a little bit of her character, because this one seems a bit more, a little bit more flyish, off the cuff kind of energies. You get me? So, she definitely wasn't a hood chick. She was more educated. I guess because obviously the crowd is different. In the 90s, they didn't want to bring that kind of that vibe. They made that more comic in a sense. If somebody was from the hood, it was more comic. They made it a bit more of a joke. But yeah, this Jackie's definitely got some fly on her, some energy, but she looks like she know what she wants. You know what I mean? Yeah, so definitely much different than the Jackie we know from the previous show. I think I can even show you a little picture of Jackie, what she looked like at the time. This was our Jackie. This was Jackie at the time. So
that's exactly how I remember. Like, yeah, she was a tomboy, kind of like a tomboy.
Yeah, definitely different. So this is her thing. She was Smith's childhood friend and past girlfriend from West Philadelphia, who moved out to West Bel-Air, California, after accepting a basketball scholarship from the University of California. Los Angeles Jackie is portrayed by renowned model Tyra Banks. Okay, so yep, that was her. But it's slightly different to the one that we see on the show. So yeah, it's clearly still got the basketball links, still got the basketball ties, but it's slightly different. She might be tied to Doc. Maybe she'll be his saving grace, because maybe that love will be the one that saves him, or it could be the love that drags him into a madness. We're not sure. Depends, Yeah. It's a bit tight. All right, let's shift it on again, and let's chill about. Let's go on to Will a little bit. Actually, oh no, let's go this scene here.
The revolution has come.
I know how much you liked reading about the Black Panther Party. This author, Robin Spencer, she talks more about the role Black women played in it.
Nice.
Tati's still looking good. Oh my God, Tati looking good. Oh baby, that girl fine. What was your kind of thoughts of the scene? Because she's now a teacher. She's handing out books, I guess, for extra credit. But it looks like this book is controversial because it's not necessarily, maybe it's not on the curriculum or something like that. And that's why later on some white teachers come to her and try to kind of basically tell her off. What's your kind of thoughts to the introduction of Tatiana Ali, who was on the show as a previous Ashley, meeting the new Ashley?
Well, yeah, she's fine. And, she is from New York. So listen, she is, I've always had a crush on her. But yeah, I love that connection, right? Because representation matters. And I think Ashley is somebody, especially they really do a lot of development with her character, and she's somebody that is asking questions and wants to know her history. So I love that she has a teacher that is willing to challenge her, that is willing to, give her things that are going to be beneficial to her, right? I'm curious as to what Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv will think about this book, right? Because I don't, I know that they're very, pro-Black, but I don't know if they want her to be that militant. Now, listen, Ashley should know better. You cannot give extra credit. You can give the book, give the book, challenge her to read it on her own, but don't give extra credit because now it's showing up like preferential treatment, right? You're giving her access to get a leg up, and the white folks, they can't stand that. When the little white girl was in the background, you saw the look on her face. I was like, we can't have nothing, we can't have nothing. But I was like, just be careful with that extra credit was what pushed her over the top. Because if she just, that can be explained. But the little white girl heard extra credit. She was like, well, I didn't get extra credit. And she's going to tell Sarah, Kim, and Bobby and everybody else that'll listen. Right? So, yes.
I hear that 100%. I hear that 100%, sir. I ain't even mad at it.
Safe space for just us. And the work you all do to uplift each other and the community is great, but look, honestly, you all do a lot of complaining, but no one even bothers to show up for the student town halls.
Hey, Colin had a moment right here. Okay, he's out here seeing new gal and that. We know he's got a little anxiety issue as well. We get a deeper look. I really didn't like the anxiety aspects. I really didn't, personally. But I understand they got to add depth to characters. I just wish that wasn't the issue. Do you know what I mean? But I get it. Mental health is a real thing, and people do go through things as well. So, and rich people do some drugs. So I get it. But we got to see a bit more different side again of Carlton here, standing up for himself. Giving them a little bit of a pushback, letting them know, listen, look, just because you voted for me don't mean nothing because you guys don't do anything, and I'm about change and reform. What was your thoughts to Carlton this episode as well?
Look, I love that they are showing the different facets of being Black, and I like that they allow him to be himself, and they don't try to make it, that he just gets along with everybody and that all Black people get along. There's all different types of people, and I think it was good. And I think also I like that the girl that he's now he's interested in appreciated that and appreciated his opinion and the fact that he had some fundamental issues with the Black Student Union, or I'm not sure, I forget what their name is on the show.
Cool, yeah, I'm with you on that, bro. I'm with you on that 100%. Pushback was needed, bro. Get me. All right, let's shift it again. Probably to a more interesting scene now between Jazzy and Hillary.
Everyone all in our business, and I don't want to ruin a good thing by trying to label it too soon.
Okay. No, I get it.
But after the party, you can come over and we can kick it.
Oh, we can kick it.
So obviously we had a situation where we saw Carlton with Jeffrey, Jazz. Man, there's too many names. Jazz with Hillary, and Hillary was out here trying to be her best player, where she was like, listen, hey, look, I'm gonna be real honest with you, okay? Listen, right now, I ain't trying to be seen with you. But she didn't say it like that. But she's like, listen, we just don't want to be sitting apart together. It's too soon. Like, you know what? We don't know what this is. Yeah. She was on a scumbag game, 100%. But what was your thoughts to Hillary in this episode and her situation? Because she also had the Ivy situation, which we'll get to in a second or two. But her and Jazz, this Jazz is really snazzy. It's so interesting. I kind of like this Jazz more than the Jazz of Fresh Prince because I like the fact he's smooth. He's spicy. He's dress sense is eloquent. He's a good-looking lad. Do you know what I mean? He's got swag on him. Like, everything about him is kind of cool, and I kind of like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's your thoughts to Jazz and to Hillary?
Yeah, no, I like their chemistry. She was trying to sneaky link him. That's what she was trying to do.
She really was.
She was trying to keep him as the sneaky link. And you saw how she at the end she kissed him. She was like, but afterwards we could definitely come back and see what it is. That's the sneaky link, finesse. She's trying to finesse him, but quickly she learned, look, ladies, as much as y'all like to try, don't play a man's game. Don't play a man's game, please. Because it usually don't work out. And we saw how it, develops later on. But I do like their dynamic. I think they're very good for each other. They provide balance to each other. I think he does a good job of listening to her. He's honest with her. So I do like that. He's pretty straightforward. He likes her. He lets her know. Right. And he's intentional about where he sees their relationship. I think their dynamic is doomed because she's so rich and he's so not. I don't think this is going to be forever, but it's a TV show and we got to go through it, right? But I do think their dynamic is very good for the two of them. And listen, people from different backgrounds and different walks of life do work out in instances, but it's more of the exception and not the rule. It's very difficult. She comes from like all the way over here and he comes from all the way over there, Yes, Felicia, I know he's business savvy, but her father is a billionaire, okay? Her daddy's a billionaire. And he's still scraping pennies together, sweeping the floors.
of your record shop, which
exactly.
A normal person would be cool. But for this one, she is a billionaire.
Yeah.
I want to be a billionaire so freaking bad.
And I think that's part of the reason why she's trying to hesitate, because she knows their worlds are just so polar opposite. And Uncle Phil is probably gonna have a little bit, He's
gonna have Jeffrey nuke him again.
Yeah.
Body bag him out.
As much as he wants to like him, when it comes to a man and his daughter,
suddenly he realizes what it really is. How's he gonna provide for you? Yeah, you're gonna be paying for him.
What's you gonna be sweeping them floors in the record store? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is the toughest part of that conversation, I think, because this Jazz and Coco actually make a really good team. But like you said, her class is completely different. I think that's what, it's not just the money. Her class is different, which is why probably like someone like Ivy, who is making money, is a businesswoman, but doesn't seem as class, in the same class as Hillary. She doesn't give that same energy. Would have probably worked better with Jazz because there'll be less of that kind of looking down on you. Hillary is more, and I think someone said it, Hillary's a bit more of a rebel, yes. So it's like Jazz is fulfilling that role for now. Jazz needs to enjoy what he can enjoy now, get what he needs to get out of the situation. If she buys you handbags and stuff like that, take the handbags, but it's an investment, okay? You need to get all you can get from her because she gonna leave you in the end, okay? That's what it feels like. Because the class is completely different rather than just being about the money. And you saw how she was into another woman came in. That wasn't big. That's her womanly instincts kicking in. Suddenly, what's hers is being shown that actually worth something, and that's why she decided to make a movement. Had Ivy not done anything, this would have gone on for a long more time. But because Ivy, who's somebody who she values in her world, suddenly took an interest in a man, it means he must be worth something. What am I not seeing? Because you lipped him after she lipped him. That's mad. Do you know what I mean? She kissed him after Ivy kissed her, literally after Ivy kissed her. So yeah, it's a bit crazy, that one.
Yeah, and that Ivy, she needs to get rid of her because that's a bad friendship. She needs to just sever ties because the girl, her first instinct when she's like, when she asked her, does he have a girlfriend? And she said no, or what, she said yes, or, is he available, whatever. And she said no. She should have been like, are you interested or whatever? Like a friend is going to pick up on the vibe, or somebody that cares will pick up on the vibe. Like, is there something between you two? She was just like, I'm going to go figure it out. Because you could tell when somebody likes somebody else, right? You could kind of pick up on the chemistry. You don't have to be stupid, but she doesn't care. She just, it's the same way. that she don't care about Hillary managing that creator house.
She said, "Listen, the firing job is your business. I gave you the money, sort that shit out. Okay? When it gets messy, that's not where I mean to be. That's what you need to do. Okay? Figure it out." So yeah, I definitely hear you on that as well. I guess the last few points we can look at is Will's situation.
I'm sorry. But your pops was never like me from the jump. I'm just some kid from Philly who's never gonna be enough for his daughter.
Since when do you care what he thinks?
Since I'm done hiding and apologizing for who I am.
It's kind of interesting because actually that's the same thing that Jazz and Hillary are going to go through probably in the future. But Will's kind of ended it before then. Class issue again. Father doesn't respect it. Her father didn't like him just because of his background, etc., etc. So very similar kind of aspect to that. But Will on this episode, we got to see a lot of him wanting to be independent, do his own thing. He went back to Philly, playing ball, picking up money and from games and stuff, sitting on his boy's couch. And, his boy was even getting a little bit annoyed, I could tell. Or you all get to that thing when someone's taking up your space and they stay for too long. That's Will. That was Will, not reading the room. But what's your thoughts to Will in this episode?
Yeah, no, I like that, how he had to kind of go back to humble roots. He didn't go to Philly, though. He went to the hood of LA.
Oh, okay.
Not the hood. I don't want to, be rude. It's not really the hood, but just not.
That's like
wasn't Bel Air. He was like in Inglewood or wherever Jazz lives.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that I like that he kind of had a safe space to land versus just being on the streets. But I also liked how Jazz set some boundaries. Like, look, you've been out late. I'm kind of seeing some behavior that doesn't make sense. I want you to be out here and making good decisions. But, Will is doing well and likes this newfound independence and fast money that he's getting, which I wish he would just realize the same way you got in trouble in Philly. You're just if you don't change your behavior, bring that same thing here. Your mom took you out of Philly, put you in a different environment so that you could make different choices. So definitely like that aspect, but I hated the conversation between him and Lisa. Like, why? First of all, if he was going to break up with her, why is he going to say, I love you? Bro, cut it out. Like, cut it out. And I think he is smart, though, to kind of put a pin in their relationship because he has too many things going on. And he's just going to bring her down in the midst of it. But the whole I love you, but then I'm not going to be with you. It's like, come on, bro. You're just like putting salt on a wound because it's almost like you saw the hope in her face when he said that. And then for him to say, OK, we can't be together at the end. And then, if we're meant to be, then we'll come back to it at a later time. It's like, dude, just rip the Band-Aid off and let her know, that I think it's better that we not continue.
I agree that 100%. I think my computer wants to do me dirty. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so for me, I think Will's you're actually right about Will. Nothing's gonna change. You think you think you're gonna change it by going away. But the reality is, if you don't change your behavior, you'll create the same patterns in a new environment. And I think this goes back to what we're saying about men and the importance of men in young boys' lives. I know I'm going to say it. Okay, ladies, this is why young boys need men. Okay, this is why they need good father roles. Okay, this is why they need their daddies. Okay. And the reason being is because of the way how quickly a young boy becomes independent, right? I'm sure women have the same thing too. But for us as young boys, the reason why he's gone that way is because one, Uncle Phil obviously lied. Yes, but it's because obviously first and foremost there's been abandonment. So now when he's because remember when he first came to Bel Air, you know, he had a huge issue trying to stay in Bel Air. They had to fight him to stay in Bel Air, right? He was going to go back. He wanted to go back home, and they finally won him over, right? But then Uncle Phil, as the father figure in this instance, lies to him and recreates the wound that he had already in the first place, widening the gash that was already there. This makes him say to himself, I can't trust anybody then. Because remember, he's not fighting on Viv. He's not fighting Ashley. He's not fighting Hillary. He's not fighting Carlton. He's still talking to them. Very first part of the episode, it tells you he's texting everybody but Uncle Phil. He has put the sole blame on Uncle Phil, which it is his fault. And he's representing another father figure. So now it's two men that have let him down. I'm not going to let another guy let me down again. Yeah, I'm not going to let no one else let me down again this time. So I'm going to go, I'm going to hustle, I'm going to make my own money. I'm never going to let someone do this. But the reality is, now he's done that. He's exposed himself because he's going before his time, right? This is the prodigal son going out, taking his inheritance, ending up in a pigsty and coming back to his father's home. But the reality is, at least he didn't die, the prodigal son, right? But Will had a real issue. He could have been dead. You know, and I'm not just talking about in terms of just leaving his home, but the fact of, you know what, like leaving the cover of instruction, of guidance, and going outside of that can make you end up in really bad situations. You know, and this is why I said about the importance of a father figure, because what the father figure actually speaks to is a guiding voice. And so now the reason why Doc is going to get in there is because he's going to become what? A guiding voice. And that's what's going to pull him in that direction. And because he doesn't trust Uncle Phil anymore the way he used to, someone else's voice can now get inside, and someone else's voice can also now begin to guide him. So father figures are so important. You know, and so Uncle Phil is an important character in Will's life. And in shaping him to become the man he is, which is why we see in next week's clips, Uncle Phil fighting for a position of being able to speak life into Will. Because in reality, whoever gets to speak gets to control, which is crazy. Any final thoughts on this, Sean?
Yeah, I think that I feel like with Will, it's kind of like we kind of go on this roller coaster ride with him where we're so glad to see him back home. And we see the impact of Uncle Phil's apology and, you know, him coming back into, you know, the house with the family where he's wanted, right? However, he still hasn't healed. And that's why we always talk about, you know, before you go into relationships. And I think that's the part that I think about, right? Before you know, go into a new relationship after you've exited one, especially where there's trauma, if you really don't do the work, right? And that's not just looking for, okay, what did so-and-so do to you, but also understand how you got there. What are the things that you contributed, right? You don't do that work, you're going to bring the same thing. So now he's going to just bring more of this hood nonsense right back to the house with Uncle Phil, right? Because now he's aligned himself with this guy who he thinks can help him, but really, you know, is just going to bring more drama and potential harm to the family. So you got to heal before you move on.
100%. You ain't tell no lies, sir. You ain't tell no lies. All right. Well, I think that's come to an end. So we're gonna bring this to a close. But it's been a good conversation. I can't wait for the second episode to drop, which is going to be on Thursday, on the 2nd of March. So we'll definitely be live again. I'll do a solo one first on the 3rd, and then we'll be back on the Sunday again. I think Sunday's a good time. We'll do it probably a little bit earlier than this because I was a bit late. My bad. That's my fault. We'll do it a little bit earlier. We'll do Bel Air and then do men's panel. So yeah, no, it's been a good conversation. I've enjoyed talking about Bel Air and Will. And if you also are interested in the show, you want to have your say, make sure you join us next week, Sunday. And we will allow the panels to be open if you guys have some contributions as well. Love to hear your thoughts, as well. So in the meantime, guys, stay locked, stay loaded. We're going to talk on the men's panel now. We're going to go and talk about how do we deal with breakups? Are men emotional beings? Do we have emotions? Do women believe we have emotions? That's a real question we're going to be asking as well. So, yes, we'll appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. See you again next week for another enthralling breakdown. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. We'll see you soon.